Mm. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for Empowerment today. My name is Latifah Abdullah. I'm your host for today, and our guest is Christine Harding. Christine is a speaker and a published author, and she's written a book called Unlock Your Victory Code. And she has another book coming out called The Inspired Wife. Christine, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And I know that you are a nutritionist. And what I found so great about your book is that you actually talked about the whole person. It wasn't necessarily about food, but you talked about the physical, you talked about the emotional, you talked about joy and purpose. It's like, wow, this is really well-rounded. So just really commend you on such a great work.
Thank you.
And one of the things that I saw in the emotional health chapter, there were several things, but one, you talked about refusing the call. And I was like, well, I do know that people, if they're not doing their purpose, they're like unsatisfied, but I never really thought about that being emotional health. So we're going to jump right in, and we're going to be talking about emotional health today. And so that's one of the areas I'd like you to share your thoughts on, first of all, refusing the call. What does that look like?
That is such a great question. So I started this whole book because my grandfather died very young, and the family believes that he actually decided to die at the age of 37 because he couldn't fulfill his call. He didn't know what his mission was. He lost his thirst for life, basically. So this chapter is absolutely huge and goes pretty deep. So whether the call is to be the best parent on the planet or whether the call is to be on stages around the world, it doesn't matter. But your emotional states that you frequent, some people frequent disempowering states such as frustration, anger, overwhelm, anxiety, or empowering states, gratitude, enthusiasm, passion, and drive. And it's kind of like, where do we get stuck in the grind and forget where we're truly going? But it shows up emotionally in the disempowering states that I actually just said. So
Okay.
yeah.
That's interesting. You said that he decided to die. So how would you direct someone to even, like if they're saying, well, I don't know why I'm here, what's my purpose, and they're just kind of, going along, what's one or two things that they can do to maybe find out what their purpose is or what the call is on life?
The first thing is read my book. I'm telling you, it's a winner. I wrote this book because clients were coming to me with life issues and that they didn't know what they were supposed to be doing. They were completely lost. And I thought, we're being very clinical here, but what's underlying, what's causing the nutrition symptoms?
Yeah.
Was this whole pull? So really looking at what's happening in your life. There are exercises and questionnaires in the book to help direct you.
Okay.
So I think people get overwhelmed in life and just say, well, this is my grind. Where's the support around that? And then they end up at a certain age and say, this isn't what I was looking for. How can I shift that? So there's a lot of support in the book around that, which I'm excited to share.
Okay.
But I'll keep it a little vague for now.
Okay. So you do have a thriving practice in the East Bay, the San Francisco Bay Area. So these are, and that's a nutrition practice, but you still deal with the whole person. So that's great. I'm glad to hear that. And then the other thing that you talked about were different stressors for stressors as far as it relates to the brain and to the body. And I wanted you to comment a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So when we're going 100 miles an hour, our neurotransmitters in our brain are saying, oh my gosh, I got to put on the brakes, And so how they do that is going for foods that actually enhance those chemicals in the brain so that we can actually create brakes. And that actually comes in the form of French fries and fried food, all the yummy stuff we love, white flour food, sugar. So what I find is that clients say, well, I noticed that if I eat my French fries, I'll get through the day. If I could just stop at fast food, if I could have a piece of chocolate.
Right.
So what's happening is that they're really aching for this neurotransmitter called GABA, which is a Valium, and it really puts the body at rest and says, oh, everything's going to be okay. But because we're not emotionally taking care of ourselves on a lot of different levels, without even realizing it, we're reaching for foods that are balancing out our system, but then obviously showing up as disease, being overweight, foggy-headed, and then it throws us into the disempowering, well, oh gosh, I don't like the way my body looks today, and you just get frustrated and anxious, and nothing seems to feel right or go right. And then the ripple effect is, well, I'm on the couch one more night this week. I'm not doing what I need to fulfill my purpose. My body doesn't feel good enough to walk. So it's really interesting to kind of, where did we start? Who threw the rock into the pond and created all the ripples of all the symptoms? So getting back to really what the core issue is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I think we need to be, well, two things. I think that we need to be well in every area in order for us to be whole. And then the other thing is, I don't think our body was really created for worry, like to worry and to just, but I think that's kind of like, seem like a, kind of like part of life, maybe. If you're out of balance in one area, or one or two areas, then there may be like a worry. If you have maybe everything else together, so you have the spiritual, the emotional, the physical, the financial, but if there's something off, the physical, then maybe there's like a worry there. And to me, that might create an imbalance. What's your thought about that?
Absolutely. I think you nailed it right on the head, and I think women are really good at that. I think we're built to be worriers just because we're taking care of our young, right? Kind of the primitive brain that jumps in. But you kind of have to look at, well, what are you worrying so much about? We create a lot of these worries in our mind because we're so worried about, well, gosh, I'm not where I want to be. Well, there's so many things going on in our lives that I think you're right. I think to some degree the worry is over-created. And it's kind of like a smoke screen. I think worry is a big smoke screen in this society, absolutely, and almost disabling in a way because it keeps us stuck and in fear.
Fear, that's a big thing. When you were talking, I was thinking about the what if, and sometimes we kind of live in the what if, and the what if never happens. Like you have to think about like what if, and on a negative tone, and then you've spent all this energy worrying, and then it's like it's not even a reality. Like a smoke screen. And then you talked about the disabled mindset. Now that was really, really interesting. Living into that disabled mindset. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. There's a saying, you are what you eat. Well, you are what you think. Right? So the disabled mindset is believing that you are disabled in some way, that you can't do A, B, and C because your knee hurts or you're tired. It's kind of bringing excuses into the forefront and allowing them to run your life. And so they come up as being a disabled mindset because it keeps you from your passion, it keeps you from your drive, it keeps you from your purpose. Because you literally do start to believe that you can't do it, that you are disabled in the way that you just simply can't do it. No matter what you do, you have put a label on yourself just from everyday life and getting in this rut. So
where do you think that comes from? Do you think if, is that like childhood thing or, something that you heard growing up, or is that, just allowing people to put their own labels and then you start believing it? What's your thought about how that even comes about?
I think that's a really good question because everybody would answer this differently. It depends on whether they look into their past for what their values are now and how they run their life. Well, my mother did this. Or my grandfather just said, this is the way it goes, right? So what do you cling on to? I was fortunate to be a gymnast for 15 years, and so I had a lot of positive reinforcement in that having the disabled mindset was not acceptable.
Right.
It's kind of beaten out of me. Like, you will do this.
Right.
Fall, fine. You get back up, you tape up your ankle, and you keep going. So I think it depends, and that's why I have this kind of charge on life, go forward, because I lived it. Yeah. I think it's really important, but somewhere along the way, you have to pick that up. If you really feel this way, you got to dig deep and find that decision of this is not what is acceptable. I think it's a choice. I really think it's a choice.
That's, okay, so it's a choice. A lot of things, I think there are a lot of things that sometimes we need to unlearn. So even if we did learn certain things a certain way, I think when we get to a certain point, we can decide if it's serving a purpose, if it's really serving us at this point in our lives. And if not, sometimes that may be with a mindset or even people,
Right.
Should they be in my circle at this season of my life, and not necessarily, no longer liking them, but you're going a different way. So
absolutely, and I touch on that in the book. Keeping your circle really important. Keeping your circle is really important. Who's keeping your greatness and who's keeping you in your smallness? And that's how I title that, and I have a whole section on that because it's huge. It's absolutely huge. And then having that game on lifestyle, big thing for me. Just game on all the time.
Yeah,
game on.
I would see why the circle is important because sometimes people may tolerate you and sometimes people celebrate you, but I think really, whether people are celebrating you or not, it really, you first, to me, you have to be good with who you are and really coming to know who you are. And so whether anybody's celebrating you or not, you celebrate yourself,
Right.
So, but that circle is really important. You mentioned something one time talking about what's eating you. Tell me about that. So what's really eating you? I think that's what you said. So.
Right. Well, and that's what I was speaking about a little bit earlier. Is that's what I'm finding in my practice, or over the almost 15 years, is that I was trained by a doctor to do clinical nutrition, but people would come in and it would just be their life unfolding because I have 2 hours with them. So I became this impromptu counselor, and I'm thinking, I haven't even lived these different lifetimes. But for some reason, I'm able to support and give guidelines and really help people through. So more and more I was finding, well, gosh, I got to get to the root of what's eating them. What's really causing the angst? Why are they overeating? Did someone just die in their family? Or have they had an injury? They don't feel confident enough to get up and keep going and change their habits and be who they were, or even better version. So people come with all their different scars, but sometimes don't realize that could be causing their disabled mind and disabled body throughout a lifetime. And they end up being, 60, 70 and saying, gosh, I just don't feel well, my body aches, but then we rewind it back. Oh, my mother died when I was 35 and I started eating this and then this fell apart, and then we unravel in our sessions. So it's powerful. It's really powerful.
What that says is that a lot of times we can't just be surface, so as professionals, people may be coming to you for one thing, but really to dig a little deeper and, like you said, look at the root cause. A lot of times we are just society in general seems like it's just kind of surface, and a lot of, even in the media, they're just kind of putting band-aids on things, and, the commercials with the medicine will medicate this and medicate that, and then, you have, what really gets me is the commercials that have, like, I think it's just the pharmaceutical industry, really just kind of pushing their agenda, so they have a solution, a so-called solution, but then there are all these side effects. So, but the message is, well, medicate that and medicate that. So really just a Band-Aid on it. So Christina, what's your thought about when people are trying to, because in the media, you hear a lot about dieting and things like that, but I really think that something needs to be a part of your lifestyle. It has to be, it can't just be like a diet, but really it has to be a part of your lifestyle for it for it to be effective. And you're not thinking, well, I'm going to start this and then I'm going to stop it. But so how do you make, if you want to have a healthy lifestyle, well-rounded lifestyle, and even like with the nutrition, I love chocolate. I love chocolate. So tell us how, if you want to make a lifestyle change, what are some action steps, 1 or 2 action steps you can take to really even make that commitment. Yeah.
That's a great question. This may sound completely different than you thought the answer would be. But rewinding a little bit, I like to diagnose a solution instead of a pill.
Mm-hmm.
So that's huge, getting answers and solutions. Okay. So I really want to touch on that because I thought that was a great point that you made, and I think we're wrapped up into the medication world, and we really got to get to the root. So, and then the next part of it is, honestly, the number one thing is I would tell people to get into personal development.
Okay.
I really would. And I go to school in my car every single day. I have uplifting CDs, whether it's from Success CD, John Maxwell, my cousin Darren Hardy. It's just, it feeds your brain. So when you get wrapped up into that negative mind chatter, it's already erased as soon as that CD's on. And I think we're not spending enough time working on ourselves.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So we're not putting, we're putting more money into our cars than we are in our minds. Right? So I think that that's a foundational spot, because if you don't feel confident enough, like you can do this, I can be victorious, I can really make this lifestyle change, and I can surround myself with people that keep me in my greatness, then you're going to fail. You're not going to be able to go forward and actually hold on to the commitment of changing your diet. You have to become your own cheerleader and then surround yourself with those people that truly are going to be on your same wavelength. So I think people dive in and it's all willpower. I'm going to do this. But it's almost a mindset of I have to do it. Not I get to do it. Right? I get to do this because it will affect my life. I get to do this because I'll be around for my children, right? So it's kind of a long-winded, but I think that's the first most important space to start. Because I think nutrition is very overwhelming, but you've got to get your mind right first to even go through with a commitment of a change.
Okay, so
that's my approach on that.
Okay, so you're saying to get the mindset right first, and then the action falls after that. All right.
Absolutely.
And so do you think, so is there any such thing as prepackaged discipline or like?
That's my book.
Consistency.
Look, Victory Code. The reason is because, well, here's the thing. I'm an action-oriented person. So I didn't want someone to just read the book and put it on the shelf.
Yeah.
So this book forces you to go through what's going on in your body, what's going on in your mind, and write it out. It's an action-based workbook. So there's a lot that happens when you put your pen to paper, but you have some guidelines as to, well, where should I start with even questioning if I can do this? Where do I begin? Yeah.
So again, the book is called Unlock Your Victory Code. And this is Christine Hardy, a speaker and a published author, and she also has a thriving practice, a nutrition practice in the East Bay. Christina, would you like to, is there anything that you'd like to leave with the audience? Anything that you'd like to, anything, first of all, from your heart, anything that's on your heart that you'd like to share? And then we'll get some final thoughts.
Absolutely. So the first sentence in the book is that we all hold the code for success. It's the DNA within us. It's just a matter of how do we unlock it. We have the victory code inside of every single one of us. But we just got lost on how to unlock it and to let it go and unleash it and really create victories every single day. And that's really about how we recover. So if our minds and our bodies aren't healthy, we can't get up and recover every day and want to have victories. So really it's about how fast can you recover? How fast can you recover? So that's one of the final things. Like from my heart, I think that people need to know that I believe in them. I really do. Often clients say I'm their last hope. For some reason, it's gotten to that point. So my whole heart, I believe in you. I believe in your audience, that they can access their victory code. And this isn't it. This isn't it. They have a lot of victories ahead of them. Yeah.
Recovery, when you say, tell me about that, because I saw that but I wasn't real sure what you meant by that. They can recover. So what do you mean by that? Like, I mean, like, is a day-to-day recovery? Like, what is it that you mean by that?
Great question. So recovery means to me that you get up out of bed and you can charge the day. If you're not able to get out of bed and you're upset, you're depressed, you have a negative mindset, you're not going to be able to fulfill what you're here to fulfill. So I think about it in the gymnast mentality is that you fall down, you get back up. And whoever gets back up and can recover the quickest wins the gold. Right? But if that gymnast gets knocked down for months and months, that's a lot of training they're losing. So it's a matter of getting your body, this is your vessel. This is all the place you have to live. Right? So how do you get that right so that every day you can get up with, I have a mission, instead of, gosh, I'm trying to get through this day and I can barely get out of bed.
Right.
You know?
So give us a little bit, so have you always had that mindset, okay, I can just get up and do it, or was there a process with you where you had to go through a process of knowing that, okay, yeah, I can do it, and there's success for me every day?
You know, getting to something really personal, and this is definitely from my heart, and I usually don't share this, but my mother is homeless, and she didn't start that way. And my father's a very big go-getter, amazing father. So it's actually a blessing that I've had both black and white of life. And I've learned what it's like firsthand when I was very young. And I think that I made a choice then that I can either get up and do what I need to do and be a member of society and do the best that I can do every day, or I can roll over and be a victim. And this is what I get. I get to be homeless and not contribute to society and not be happy. So I think at a very young age, having been exposed to that, there was this decision. I've always had this internal drive. That's why I keep saying I think it's a choice. And that was my choice. I could have very easily gone towards the mother side.
Okay.
And I talk about that in the book at very young. I was asked by my father, who do you want to be with? And I chose him, and I was only 3.5.
Wow.
And it was like this decision of like, I knew that whatever she was representing was not who I wanted to be. It's not that I don't love her. There's different aspects of her that I've grown to love and appreciate. She's taught me a lot. But I think that's personally where I got it, and I've never lost it.
Okay.
And I think the gymnastics just reinforced it because you can't be a victim in that sport.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You just can't.
Not at all.
So, yeah, that's my personal journey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have anything else for the audience today?
I don't.
No?
Just
Okay.
keep living that inspired life. That's coming out in September. I'm excited.
Okay.
But just have something to live for.
Okay.
Find that.
Okay. I wanted to make sure you got everything else.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Latifah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your joining us today. I really respect the work that you're doing, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Latifah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.